the relationship between Salt Lake Prefab and True Haven is really kind of a match made in heaven.
Absolutely.
We know that there's a need there. We know that there's a lot of interest. We know that local municipalities are opening the doors for ADUs and these type of structures to be introduced. You guys are at the front, spear tip, if you would, of that.
The reason I like your setup so well is because you probably could be a more efficient process and make more money, but you want to make sure your product is right.
And we do basically our whole operation in the factory is designed upon the end user to make it as convenient for them as possible. So it becomes clear. I think people are starting to recognize like this is the clear way
to go.
To go.
Hi, thanks for joining us again today. My name is Jonathan Sipe here with True Haven. We're here to talk with Reagan Wing here. We're going to talk metal studs today. We're going to get deep. We're going to get technical. We're going to provide some information for both the homeowner and the GC and developer. So with that being said, you're probably wondering where we're at. We're actually going to open the doors a little bit here of True Haven and give you a sneak peek of the magic sauce behind it. We're actually at Salt Lake Prefab here in Utah. So this is actually the headquarters of where True Haven steel frames are made and where they ship out to your property. As always, we're a U.S. made, U.S. assembled, and U.S. sourced product. So anyway, Reagan, it's great to have you and be here.
So happy to have you. This is great.
Yeah. So
we're actually coming.
We're actually in one of your conference rooms upstairs here.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. We got everything. We got lights. We got running water. What else more do you need?
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
So, gosh, we've known each other a couple of years now, and so I know that there's a lot of rich history to Salt Lake Prefab and kind of how you guys got started.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, Salt Lake Prefab, was really born out of a commercial drywall company.
Okay.
Our sister company is called Wallboard Specialties.
Yep.
They've been working in our market, in the Mountain West for just about 50 years or so.
Oh, that's a long time.
Yeah, long time.
Wow.
So it's a storied history. It's a family-owned business, second generation. So it's great. We got all the warm fuzzies. We've been in it. We know exactly what it takes when working with steel specifically. It is kind of a nuanced material to work with. And, really from us looking at it and having the know-how and understanding metal stud framing, we're looking at ways to advance. How do we become more efficient? How do we become more consistent, in the products that we offer to our customers and, output or put out into the market? And that's where, we really started diving into prefabrication and offsite construction almost a decade ago.
Oh, wow.
About 10 years or so ago, wallboard started going down that path.
Isn't the drywall Wallboard Specialties? I think at one point you told me it's literally the largest wallboard company in Utah.
Yeah, we're the largest in our market. There's a few other big national players that are here with us, but if we talk about local presence, our head count as far as men that we have out in the field, we exceed by almost a couple of hundred bodies.
Oh, wow, that's a lot.
Working every day. Yeah, so it's pretty significant and pretty large operation. So we're fortunate to have that background. But we started diving into this prefabricated world, and there was enough traction that we spun out Salt Lake Prefab about 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
As a standalone company. Granted, yes, we still service wallboard. We're touch pretty much every single one of their commercial or residential projects in some capacity. But then, this is very marketable. We look for the right partners. That's where we were introduced a couple of years ago on the engineering side of things.
For sure.
And then this sort of evolved into like, okay, we got a great product. More important than that, we figured out the logistics and the operations of it. We have the know-how of how to go from A to Z and got pretty efficient at doing that. And we can extend this and take it to market. So, that a big key of that is, we're good at building.
Yeah, well,
we've got that process. We know how to
imagine
do that.
with the Wallboard Specialties, you already sort of had the client base. To piggy off of that, right? To start off and move into the steel frame as well.
Yeah, well, it's one of the things, like, again, we try to be self-aware enough. Like, we know what we're good at.
Yeah.
And that's, operations, manufacturing. That's great. What I'm not great at is, like you said, being that central source of all this information and getting out in front of customers, marketing. And that's where, the relationship between Salt Lake Prefab and True Haven is really kind of a match made in heaven.
Absolutely.
Where you guys can take it, hey, let's evangelize and get this information in front of the customers. We know that there's a need there. We know that there's a lot of interest. We know that local municipalities are opening the doors for ADUs and these type of structures to be introduced. So you can, you guys are at the front, spear tip, if you would, of that.
100%.
You can take the customers, through design, through their engineering,
and then
get everything ready for them. And then, hey, we can take that we manufacture a great product, it ships to site, and it's just as easy for them to erect it as it is to plan and design it. So
100%. There's so much to unpack in the process that I want us to unpack because it's not just engineering. Because I work with your crews and your modeling crews and everybody. Like it's such a detailed process.
Yeah.
And so we're going to unpack some of that so our customers or our potential customers can see just how well we work together and what's important
Yeah.
in that and compare it to other competitors out there.
Sure.
Very cool. I know that when I first saw your factory, first saw the factory, it was wasn't it an old soccer field? You said it's a massive building.
It's huge. It was built as an indoor soccer facility, but it's just a huge. I mean, it felt huge.
How many square feet? Do you know how many square feet it is?
It's just over 60,000 square feet.
Oh wow!
Which felt really big to us when we moved into it. And again, when we got there, was a bunch of turf that we had to tear out and pour concrete and upfit it a little bit for our purposes because we've got I don't know how many thousands of pounds of steel coil sitting on the ground.
Right,
now.
you have to reinforce the flooring.
There's a little bit of work. I don't know what we expected. We looked at the turf and assumed, it was like, oh, great, we'll pull that up and there'd be a concrete floor, but we pulled it up and it was just more dirt. So,
oh, wow. Okay. It wasn't even concrete.
No. So concrete went in, we got that ready to go and we loved it. And really, this is about as big as we're ever going to need. And here we are, a couple of years later and we're looking for the next one. So
yeah, I envision you guys are already kind of thinking about another building growing, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the nice thing, again, where it is a family owned business and, we're very bullish and we understand the market opportunity and we're ready to invest heavily into that. So, we are chomping at the bit to expand. We're in a position where we can expand.
Yeah.
And so we can accommodate, really any volume that comes in. And we're excited. We love it. Where we've got it located is just real central in Salt Lake City, but we're right next to all the freeway corridors too. So,
so you can just start ship. It's really easy to ship out the product.
Yeah, and we've gone everywhere we've shipped as far as Maine and New York.
New York, yeah, we'll talk about
out
that.
there.
That was amazing. Yeah.
We've freight airlifted some stuff out to Alaska. We've gone all over the U.S. So
this is great stuff. So, what's great? I think tomorrow we're going to kind of do a mobile walk and talk. You're going to talk our potential clientele here, and that so they can actually see behind the curtain, so to speak.
Yeah.
And actually see the different stations of how their products can be made.
Yeah.
It was kind of interesting. I was never a Mercedes guy or a BMW guy, and then when I got married, the wife was like, "Hey, check this out, this Mercedes," right? I'm like, "Oh wow, that's kind of a nice car."
Yeah.
But anyway, long story short, we had the opportunity to go to Europe, and we were able to tour the BMW factory, and just to get that behind the scenes of how things are made. It's just so cool. So that's why when we go through the factory, it's going to be really cool to see all the intricate parts come together.
Yeah, well, you're setting the bar pretty high because we're not nearly as exciting as BMW.
You're not as precise, or no, I'm kidding.
No, we're pretty precise, but it's my wife teases me all the time. It's like I get real excited about metal stud framing and different flange sizes, and look at this profile, or look at this neat design, or this architectural detail. I think this is incredibly interesting. You're like, hey, look what we can do. There's no limits or bounds. You're going from metal to wood.
Oh, I know.
And my wife just couldn't care less. Like,
she's like, that's great.
I'm happy for you. That's neat. Yeah, but
you're like, we were able to punch a new hole in the studs, and how we can automate this. And
check out this tooling. How cool is that? Yeah. Exactly. So lots of exciting stuff to see.
Very cool. Yeah. I know. So just to give a shout out to some of the steel makers out there that we use, or not makers, but the machine makers.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys are running frame CAD machines, right?
Yep.
And you're running architect machines as well?
Yeah, we use both of them. And we've looked at and courted every single manufacturer out there. Those are the two that we landed on.
Okay.
Frame CAD, we've had an absolutely wonderful experience with them. And, frame CAD, when we're talking roll forming or metal stud framing, they're like the Kleenex or the Tylenol.
Exactly.
It's just a name brand that everyone knows and recognizes, and they've got a great product, great platform.
Yeah.
And then we started to supplement, our production with architect machines, probably about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
We brought them in and we've had, great experience there. They're new to the North American market, but
it's a Turkey machine, right?
Yeah, they're based out of Turkey, but they're really bullish on expanding in North America and Europe.
Yeah.
And so, we've kind of struck while the iron was hot when they were first getting in. there's only a few other folks that have them or had them at the time we got our first machines here. And there is a little bit of a learning curve there, but it's great. You complement that with a great staff or great operations team on our side. And we've been able to make it work and be pretty successful. So
I bet the learning curve for your drywall folks to steel, I mean, even though it's different, I mean, you still are in the construction industry. I see a lot of people, they have the mentality of like, oh, I'm going to buy a couple roll forming machines. I'm going to go open a warehouse and I'm going to start rolling steel and making houses. But I think you have to have somewhat of a construction background like your guys do. That probably helps, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'd say it's paramount.
Yeah.
And I'm a pretty optimistic, like glass is half full or half empty, whatever. I'm the optimistic, rose-colored glasses type of guy. But, the reality is, moving into it, it was significantly harder and cost probably 2 or 3 times more than we expected it to.
Oh, it always does, right? Any business. Yeah.
And so, I mean, I'm not to be, a negative Nancy, but even in our market and, a few other states, I've seen, 4 or 5 other groups come and go.
Oh, me too.
Because the technology's there. It's great. It's very exciting.
Right.
They have they have the capital, so they invest into it. And 12 to 18 months later, they're gone.
Right.
Just because there is nuance and there is understanding that, needs to be there. And lucky for us, we've got 50 years of experience behind us. That
you have that deep rooted experience behind you. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's so important. Yeah. And I also love the preciseness of your product that comes out as well. As we launched True Haven, and we were trying to identify before we met, we of course did our homework. Like we traveled the country all over finding steel manufacturers. And the reason I like your setup so well is because, you probably could be a more efficient process and make more money. But you want to make sure your product is right. And we'll touch more on that through the stations we go through tomorrow. But I like that philosophy. That's what really attracted me to you guys when we first met was that like, hey, this is kind of the longer way to do it, but we want to make sure the customer, has the right product, or if they hire a GC to put it up, that the GC has not a lot of issues with it. So.
Exactly. I mean, that's, for us, for a long time, we were our own customer.
Yeah.
Which is, a great perspective because, anyone can put together an execution or like an operations plan, especially when we deliver to site and they have their sequencing of how they want it to go. And it'd be very easy for us. Like you said, if we're from a manufacturing perspective, if I know I have to roll this, profile or this dimension of stud, I'm going to roll all of those at once because it's the most efficient way to get it through the machine.
Right.
But we elect not to do that. Because we want to optimize for our staging or sequencing on site.
Makes sense.
So, we'll stop and we do basically our whole operation in the factory is designed upon the end user to make it as convenient for them as possible. So we roll, we assemble, we manufacture, and we ship, everything sequenced and packaged in a way. So when you get to site, you know exactly what to do. You start at the top of the pile and you work to the bottom of the pile. And
that's all labeled too, right? You guys label everything top, bottom.
Yep.
Yeah.
So top, bottom, and then there's even laser jets printers on our equipment. So each individual member has a label on it. So
that helps a lot.
Yeah, we'll send it pre-assembled for you.
Yeah.
But if worse comes to worse, if you find yourself with a pile of parts, you'll be able to look at it and snap it into the right spot. So.
That's fantastic. One of the things, we get a lot of calls from developers and general contractors, and they're like, hey, I want to build 10 houses of this stuff, right? And one of the biggest things that we get from general contractors, and this is to our general contractor and developer folks, is I don't know how to work with steel. I've done 30 years of wood construction. And I know that we had talked about this, that you guys, Salt Lake Prefab is completely open and welcome to have a general contractor come up and learn from you guys, right? Like, hey, let's build something in the parking lot and kind of get their hands on it. I imagine that's definitely an option as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, we've done, pretty much every different approach. And that's the thing, like we, again, are optimizing for that experience on site.
Yeah.
And so we'll do whatever we can or need to accommodate. Like, yes, we'll fly folks into Salt Lake.
Yeah.
Come in the facility, learn. We'll throw up a mock building so they can see what the connection details look like, get experience moving and manipulating panels. And then on the flip side of it, I've done it. We've got a project in Colorado that we're shipping a guy out. Like, we'll fly a representative on site
to kind of advise them on like,
so
no, you want this panel here.
It was just best practices. Exactly. Hey, we'll do all the pre-work, and we're going to tell you exactly how to expect it and how to, where it's going to show up and how it's going to show up on site. But once it gets there, we'll have just one more voice, kind of reassure, like, okay, hey, here's stack 1 of area 1 of level 1. So we're going to take that. It's going to go here, right? Look at your layout or look at our plans. We can see that this panel goes right here. You start here, and everything else, we're off to the races. Everything else fits from there. So we'll do whatever it takes. And that's something, that we really pride ourselves upon, is like,
I can see that.
It'd be, as a manufacturer, it'd be very easy. Like you said, we could be much more efficient or make more money to, hey, it's done.
Yeah, it's done. It's out the door within 10 minutes.
Yeah, once it crosses our gate, it's not our problem anymore. Like, we refuse to look at it that way. We got to make sure that we're going to see it all the way through to the end, because we can give everyone a great experience, or like True Haven can give someone a great experience all the way up till they get to site. And if it goes terribly when they're on site, then the whole experience is spoiled.
Yeah, and then somebody that was so excited to get a home or their little project, it kind of puts a negative spin on that. And we don't want that. We want it to be a pleasant experience for them.
Yeah. So what you want people to talk about is, when it got here, we had everything we need and then some extra help. Not everything was great, and then it got here, but there's this one thing, like that's what they're going to tell their friends and neighbors, that one thing,
That's true.
If we can control that and make it a good thing, then we're going to do it.
I can actually attest to that, because we've done a lot of projects together, right? Yeah. So I remember that project, and I think it was maybe not Idaho, but it was Missouri. We do it. We work all over the country, but it was one where it was a small ADU, and unfortunately, the truck I think
ran over a panel.
Yeah, ran over a panel, and it wasn't even your guys' fault. And you're like, yeah, no worries, we'll just remake a panel and ship it out. Yeah. And I thought that's just like quality customer service right there, where you guys did that. So that's what we love about it too. So.
Just keep exciting. We've done it long enough that we found every which way to break things or have it go wrong. Right. So typically, it rarely does, but when it does, we know how to fix it and we'll make it right. So that
is true. That's a key component. You know how to fix the issue, and that's where that experience comes in. Yeah. The other thing, a lot of questions we get from some of our customers and our clients is, where have you done this before? And what's kind of cool, I use this, I can't tell you how many times I use this sample project you guys have done, is the University of Utah dormitories. Yeah. That itself, tell us a little bit about that, how it went, and how great it was and what you saved.
Yeah. It's been really, really, that was a really, really great learning opportunity for us. Yeah. In the project that he's mentioning, is we actually had 2 phases of student housing. So it's a multifamily development. Okay. Each of them were, without splitting hairs, just assume both of them were about 500,000 square feet. Wow. 500 doors a piece. Yeah. So not small projects. Big highlight for us is, typical timeline for something like that from, start to finish is, duration is 3 to 3.5, maybe 4 years. Wow. On each one of those, phase 1, principal framing was complete in 9 months. Wow. Phase 2, which was a little bit bigger, and we were slowed down because there was a podium, a concrete, concrete podium foundation that was poured. Yeah. It slowed us down, and we hit it in 11 months. You know what I mean? So even us missing the mark was principal framing in 11 months.
You still save time in there.
500,000 square feet, which is, prefabrication and using this type of system. There is no other means or methods where you can achieve those type of results. It has to be that way. It can only be done that way. So, we're really excited about it. And again, that was one of the things that really helped us set ourselves apart in our market. And, we love it. Multifamily is great. Yeah. But, helped us learn the operations and the efficiencies in the factory that then translate or percolate down to any size.
Yeah, even just your 800 square foot ADU. Yeah.
And we've done it. Together we've done
quite a few.
200 square foot shed all the way up to a 1,200 square foot or 1,400 square foot ADU.
In fact, you guys are going to be making my father-in-law's ADU
that
here.
Next shed,
right up here in Ogden, Utah.
Yeah, we're excited about it. So
looking forward to that. He bought a big box store shed, and when the wind came, it just went down.
Done. Yeah.
As it was done. So and not only was it done, but it hit the next door neighbor's house, who incidentally is his daughter. Okay. So because they live next door to each other. So, his daughter, my sister-in-law, was like, something just hit my house.
Make for a tense conversation at Thanksgiving. Exactly. Yeah.
So
remember that one time, Dad?
Yeah, I remember.
So yeah, we'll do one better. We'll do something cool.
For sure. One of the things too we get from, I've actually had some calls with developers and they said, oh, we've tried different prefabricated systems on the multifamily, multi-level, and, steel isn't workable. And if the panels don't line up,
Mhm.
then it just creates more problem, more delays. In fact, given the fact that we're a structural engineering firm as well,
Yeah.
leading the True Haven, brand,
Hmm.
which I think is great, right? Because we see all the issues. We're not just a CEO. We're not a businessman. We're actually an engineering-led solution with True Haven.
Yep.
But what I'm going with that is, I think that one of the key components here in the system or the process is the modeling,
Hmm.
right? The 3D modeling.
Yeah.
And I think, we've engineered for a lot of steel builders out there. And I'll be honest, a lot of the steel builders, they have those 1 year delays. Yeah, because we're privileged to that information. We have clients call us and say, yeah, why is this project taking so long? And, we're able to get behind the scenes look of what's done wrong
Yeah.
and how do we make it better. And one of the consistent things is coming up is that 3D modeling. So you have a pretty extensive team here, probably the most I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about it. You have like multiple guys that
Yeah,
modeling this stuff.
we've got it's one of the big developments over the past couple of years is we've identified over the past couple of years that the absolute key to success is getting design and
Yeah.
modeling and engineering done right
For
from
sure.
the outset.
Yeah.
And so we try to be involved in that process as early as possible. And it's nice with True Haven where you guys are leading engineering and
Yeah.
in some cases, architecturally the design as
For
well.
sure. Yeah, absolutely.
We can get in really early and we know now what questions that we ought to be asking.
Yeah.
And we can identify what pieces are missing. And we try to make it as easy as possible for any other trade, whether it be the electrician or the HVAC guy or the plumber coming in. We know
Avoid
hey,
conflicts that could happen out there.
exactly.
Right?
We know that there needs to be a chase here. So we're going to integrate it. And we'll even send him we'll make available a set of our shop drawings and our model so they can get buy-in as well.
And we're talking full 3D model where
every single stud, every single
rotate
member,
it. Yeah.
everything's there so they can look at it, manipulate it. And that's our wall panels, all of our framing, headers, jams,
Right.
sills, everything, trusses, they can all look at it and everyone can see it. And you get the same kind of turnkey service with a 200 square foot garage, ADU, shed space with, right now we've got a 15,000 square foot home going up in Park City.
All right.
That's, the same level of detail that's available.
And then you're going to start rolling a 33,000 square foot resort down in Palm Springs that True Haven is actually putting up down there.
We're excited about that one.
We're really excited as well. We were just approved by the building department, so we're really excited by that.
No, it's great. And, we turn that over, you get those design files. So not only is it really helpful for you as framing's going on or really, everything's getting roughed in, but you also have that you can keep it. So if, like I said, things often don't go wrong,
right?
But if they do a year or two down the line, or if you're in Southern California or whatever, and there's a shake and we need to make repairs, you can pull that model up and identify exactly where stuff is and troubleshoot.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's no more mysteries. You're not punching holes in walls trying to find
we're trying to make the steel fit and whatnot. Just to kind of bring a little more a deeper education on this process is that we're not doing this 3D modeling just for kicks and giggles here. It's actually needed to talk to the machines, right?
Yep.
So that's why it's so important. So to kind of walk through the client a little bit here, or customer a little bit here, so so they know. So the way it works is, True Haven will sit with them and kind of come up with your architectural design, and so we'll create the actual design of the ADU, home, multifamily, whoever the customer might be, and then we'll engineer it and kind of create that full permit set that they would then take for their building permit. So we have to do that part first.
Yep.
And then I'll send that over to your team.
Yeah.
And then you'll start doing a quote and a 3D modeling, basically a quote that you'll tell us so that we can give that to the customer as far as how much the steel is going to cost and whatnot. But that 3D model, what I like about that is then you ship that back to the engineering firm, to us, and then we check it off of our structural plans.
Yep.
I noticed that key part right there is always such a missing part when we see all the other builders out there.
Yeah.
As soon as a structural engineer hands a file over, the steel manufacturer will take it. They'll create that 3D model because to give a little deeper understanding, that 3D model then talks to the machine. That's how it works, right?
Exactly.
But they never return the file back to the engineer. And so I think that's where a lot of mistakes in the field come out, because, you need that engineering check to be like, no, hang on, we wanted a shear wall here. We wanted, even some of the projects we're coordinating on, like, oh, hey, where can I put a diagonal brace shear wall, stuff
Exactly.
like that.
Or, hey, we have this really unique requirement where we need to have this shear bracing, and then you guys come up with a really outstanding solution for us, and
yeah,
give
we
us
try.
you haven't let us down yet. It's been pretty impressive. So, but yeah, it's paramount for us. And it's, like you said, all of the design, again, there's a lot of heavy lifting on these projects that happen before we ever roll a linear foot of metal. Like before it happens, we spend weeks planning and designing before. And manufacturing is actually like,
that's like the quick part, technically, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's the easy part, which is like, again, knock on wood, because again, if there's a way to mess it up, we found it, or we will find it.
Right.
But design is really a hard part. In our shop, we've got like a 98, or no, it's like 99.8% QC rating, like quality control.
That's pretty high.
Yeah. When it goes through the shop, they'll make it damn near perfect every time, according to the plans that we send to the machine, that we send to production.
Right.
So if and when there is an issue, we've always been able to, diagnose it back to, oh, there's a design error here. We missed this, or there's a clash there, or there's something happening. But so long as we can get in early, and we've got a great partner to work with, and the other trades, so whether it be the general contractor or the other tradesmen on site, as long as that's available to them and they can look at it, then when that happens, then we're like I said, we're heartburn free. Everything goes the way you want it, and
exactly, and limit the issues in the field, right? Because you want that to go smoothly, and whatnot. So.
And that's
so
how you get that.
How many modelers do you have on staff right now? I mean,
we've got 3 guys that are doing wall panels only.
just to draw the wall panels.
Yeah, just wall panels, and then we've got another fella that specializes in trusses and trusses alone, and he is the truss authority. And then we've got they report up to our operations manager, who he then works with our project managers and our logistic and purchasing departments. So they're modeling and designing it. They get every single member down to a 1/16 of an inch. We know exactly how much steel or material is going to go into a building. We know how much exterior sheathing or interior sheathing or bracing or hold downs. We know every single member that's going to go into that build. So we order the steel accordingly. So we're not wasting space or material on our factory floor. That stuff lands right before we need to manufacture it. We have an existing not even a library, but an inventory of all the different elements or different consumables that we need, to really make it as efficient as possible. So once, that final review is done, we send it to you, you look at it, you can buy off, customer can look at it, they can sign off. As soon as we get the go ahead to manufacture,
you start rolling the steel.
Yeah, there's no latency there. We go right into
how long, like, let's just throw, I want to give kind of like our listeners, I want to kind of give them a sort of an overall view of just how much of that upfront labor goes into effect. So, for example, how long does it take, say, a 2,000 square foot home to roll it? Now, not everything up front, but just once everything's done and you're going to roll the steel, put the OSB on it, how long do you think that would roughly take?
2,000 square foot home? I mean, it'd be about 4 hours in the factory.
4 hours?
Yeah.
Wow.
Which
I know.
Sounds
that's why I wanted to mention this, because, like, if we were to put the whole process again on the table here, that whole permit set that we were talking about, that could be 3 to 4 weeks, and then the modeling can take 2 or 3 weeks because we want to get that right. And so that's just kind of, and then 4 hours to make it. So like we're talking about, the making of it is the rolling of the steel is the quickest part. It's ensuring everything is correct before it goes to the machine. That's the key. And that's what, as a team, we kind of bring that together, I think, really well.
That's great.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think if you don't mind, I would say, to pay you a compliment, for us, one of the things that we've been most impressed of with working with you and with True Haven is, we, had you at the facility. You're aware of all the equipment that we have.
Oh yeah, it was impressive to see.
Yeah, and we provided you a matrix of like, hey, here are all the different members that when I say members, the different type of studs.
All
that
right.
we can manufacture in house.
Different
So,
profiles.
yeah, so we can do a little 2.5 inch, wide stud, or we can do a 12-inch stud.
Yeah.
And we can do every single variation in between. And we're able to provide that to you, which is great. So as you're going through an engineering and designing,
Mm.
it's a VE, we call it value engineering.
Yeah.
So you're like, not only are you looking out for your customer, like, hey,
Yep.
we're going to make sure that we get all the requirements. It's going to look the way you want it to work or look, but it's also going to stand up wherever you want to put it, whether it be in a crazy seismic zone in Southern California, or we're going to throw this
Lake
up
Tahoe
into Lake Tahoe with a 500-pound snow load.
Exactly.
We're going to bury this thing under 15 foot of snow.
I know, right?
Wherever it's going to go,
Yeah.
you can make it look the way they want it to look. You
Yep.
can make it stand up the way they want to stand it. But
Mhm.
you're aware of what we can manufacture.
Yeah,
and
your capabilities and everything.
And you're aware of, what is most cost effective.
Yeah.
So, typically, if we look at our industry, so metal stud framing, if we were to look at, sort of the status quo, if there's stick framing, you're doing a traditional method, a lot of those guys, or even suppliers, have a very set, selection of studs that they keep in stock. You can get the other stuff, but it's all special order. So it's
or a lot of times, though, a lot of the I don't mean to interrupt, but there's a lot of companies that are a lot of steel makers. They only have two profiles.
Yeah.
Like as we were talking about, people get into this space, but given the price of the machines, they're like, okay, I have a 3.5-inch wide stud and a 6-inch stud. Now I need to build a 5,000 square foot home off that, and so it's nice what you guys offer.
Yeah, which and we've seen those. I've seen plans, and it's not fun to take advantage of someone else that's had a problem. But there's been a few projects that we've inherited, from some of those folks, and given the design limitations, they'll have, hey, this needs to be a structural or load bearing piece, and where we could, hey, where we can take the approach and size this up to, hey, we're going to go to a real heavy gauge. So all we need is to have 2 or 3 studs side by side.
Mm-hmm.
Given their limitations, they've got 15 studs stacked.
Exactly, because you can go heavier
which
gauge.
Is which they're limited. They can't go to a heavier gauge or a different flange or a different width, and so they've got this massive amount of studs all stacked up, which
costs money.
It costs money, and technically on paper it works, but it costs money, and it's hard to assemble, and it's real heavy, and so we can work with you, and you can prescribe to us like, hey, here is the absolute leanest way that we can make this meet all of our requirements, which is great for us because it makes estimating a lot easier for me. And yes, we've got the capability, and yes, we know if we're going to jog in between different sizes, it's going to cost us a little bit more in the factory to do it. However, ultimately the savings in the materials, offset that, and we can give the absolute best package to our customer.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and then you add that or compound that with accelerated timelines and everything that come with that.
Yeah, I think that's what's great about True Haven is that it is an engineering-led solution. It's an engineering-led. So, I'm actually a structural engineer myself. Everybody knows that. Yep. And so we work together. But what's great is we do bring that value engineering component into it. So, as we continue on and we're kind of exploring a lot of these different purposes and what steel can do for GCs and developers, let's circle back around for everyday folks, that are trying to put an ADU in their backyard. The ADU, the laws have been changing quite a bit.
Yes.
California really charged that effort. Arizona passed its own law. I think Colorado is now passing its own law now this summer.
Yep. Utah's falling right in line.
Yeah, Utah as well, right here, right? So I know that I think what's so great about us as a team is we can provide a one-stop shop for the customer, right? We get a lot of customer calls. We get a lot of clients that say, hey, so do you do architectural and engineering and the MEP? Or, what do you do? And so the fact that we're able to offer everything permit submission wise to everybody here, but also that we already bring the steel manufacturer as well. So we're able to bring a complete solution to the customer.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, too, where, elephant in the room, if we're dealing with metal or light gauge metal framing, it's different.
It is different. It's kind of a scary different, right? Like, what is this stuff?
And especially you're talking to, if you're building an ADU, or a garage or an addition to your house.
Yeah.
A lot of the contractors, you talk to them, these are folks that have been, at least in my experience, they're those cool guys that have been doing it for 20, 30 years, you know,
Right.
and they know wood inside out. And
They're nail guns and their plywood. They're solid.
yeah, they're real comfortable with it, and they're kind of averse, or there is like a, you know, a little bit of, you know, a hesitancy to, you know, use this, you know, what is this stuff, this new bright metal framing, you know, I don't like it, tell me more about it.
Right.
And I think, well, without exception, you know, if once we take the time and you show them like, hey, here's what you're getting and here's how it's going to go together, you know, we're able to, you know, really
overcome that fear.
Yeah, curb any of those concerns.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, I think without exception, you know, after the project is up or after it's done, you know, people are like, this is great. This is amazing. I think specifically we did a project together last October.
Oh, we need to talk about that. Yeah. We need to let everybody know here what we did.
Yeah.
So, it was the biggest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah, it was pretty neat.
Yeah.
But we did, what was it? It was 3 ADUs in 5 days.
Yeah, in Long Island.
In Long Island. Yeah. So 2 in Long Island, 1 upstate New York.
Yeah, Saratoga.
Yeah.
That's right.
So it was beautiful. I mean, Saratoga in October. I mean,
it was pretty nice.
Yeah, it's not bad. It was, as far as a work trip goes, it was pretty nice. So,
and it was you and your foreman came out.
Yeah, we had one of our field guys come out and help out, but it was the same thing where we were working with, you know, local labor, local labor force.
I remember that.
You know, and talking to them, like, again, they were framers. They understood. They knew how buildings go together.
Yep.
But you know, when we got on site, it was made clear.
You saw this blank. I remember seeing that blank
very clearly. It was like,
what do we do with these panels?
Yeah, we were starting at net zero, like net neutral. Right. They had never worked with metal or panels before, and even with that limitation, we had an ADU stood up in 1 day. You know what I mean?
We did like a 1,000 square foot ADU, internal walls, external walls, and trusses
in a day.
Set in a day.
Yep.
Yeah, that was even for me. I was like, wow.
Yeah,
that's
and
impressive.
It was one of those things where, again, they were hired help. And they had never dealt with it before, but I had 3 of them specifically come to me. And it was like, "Tell me more about this."
Yeah, exactly.
Again, they were building it for a homeowner, you know, and the homeowner had been, you know, in touch with you and brought it to this market. But suddenly, these contractors there, after 1 day of working with this stuff, like, tell me more. Where do I get it? Because this is great because, you know, all of the walls are going up right the way they're supposed to be. You know, we did our layout. Everything fits. All of our walls are straight.
I know.
There's no bowing.
Pretty solid.
Yeah, there's no bowing. There's no bending. There's no knots. You know, in the middle of a wall, we don't have to do any scabbing or extra bracing. You know, it's as straightforward.
And we didn't have to. We didn't. You know, given that there was 3 builds, we didn't have to. Surprisingly, we didn't have to cut any metal.
No,
because we did all that upfront work.
Yep.
Everything just fit really nicely together. I remember that.
And again, it's one of those things where we did. I can think on one of them. I know on one of them, you know, we did have to make a couple of adjustments because.
Oh, is it the hip roof one?
Your framing can only go up as straight as your slab is.
True.
You know, so there was, that's out of our control.
Yeah. If the slab isn't quite right, it can. Yeah.
Yep. But, you know, even with metal, again, a panel is a panel. The dimension is not changing.
That's right.
But to curb any fear or any hesitation, you know, it's great. We get to site, you identify where it is, and, you know, we can take out a couple of screws, put a piece down, and, you know, you're ready to roll. And so, that, you know, didn't really cause us any big delays or really.
What was great about that, too, is a lot of people have this misconception and steel is that, okay, now we're dealing with screws. And as contractors or even just homeowners are like, I know I can go to Home Depot, I can get a nail gun, build a wood shed with a nail gun and be done. But you had the coolest tool, by the way, out there.
Yeah.
But there are pneumatic gun solutions, VersaPins, different things. So you're not physically always having to screw each screw in, right?
Yep. And there's Simpson. I mean, we could go again. We could
just do a deep technical dive.
Something that I care deeply about. You know, there's a few different manufacturers that have great products where you can shoot a pneumatic or even a gas nailer for your sheeting or for, you know, whether it be for your exteriors or for your roof. And so again, it's not that different than a traditional wood frame project.
You know, I had that was actually my first experience because you guys, of course, have been in the steel making. For me, that was the first time actually, you know, getting my hands on it. And I brought an engineer from my team. You know, we kind of all went out there together. A big shout out to Jim McGowan, right? McGowan Construction of New York.
Yep.
They were just phenomenal in support of us. And in fact, McGowan was we built a shed for him. One of them was for Jim McGowan. Yeah, it was. I guess what I'm getting at with that is when I saw that truck pull up, I'm not gonna lie, given that I never built one, it was like, OMG, wow. I was like, and I thought to myself, as a truck driver gonna unpack that, but she wasn't having any of it, remember? But I know, but it was kind of cool to see how easily it was. Like, oh, okay, you take the panels off. It was like a Lego set.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah. You like
Yeah.
a Rector set when you were a kid? You're an engineer, so I'm sure.
Oh
you
yeah,
did,
I was a Lego kid. I was a rector, so yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
So I mean, that's the thing. Like I agree with you. If to the untrained eye, you look at a semi shows up with like
Right. You're
this
like,
big
oh
stack
wow.
of material. Like,
Yeah.
what am I to do with this? But
Right.
again, with the pre-work or our approach to it,
Yeah.
working together, once you actually start moving stuff or stuff gets on the ground, like no, like this actually goes together much more intuitively than you
Well,
would
what's cool
anticipate.
is you guys also include a packet that is kind of like a Lego instructions.
Yeah.
And so I was able to pull a panel off and say, oh, E-1, okay, this wall, and I look at the plan, oh, it goes here.
Yep.
And then you literally just start putting the pieces together.
Yep. And an hour later, you got a tiny home.
You got a little tiny
So
home, little ADU.
that's, I mean, and we've done other stuff too. We did dry fits of a few other projects, where we would, right off of our manufacturing or assembly line, we just took those panels out to to our parking lot.
Yeah.
And we had like, it was our 800 square foot shed or a 600 square foot shed.
Right.
Walls were stood up with the roof on top of it in about 25 minutes.
Wow. Wow.
So, and that's with guys that are building them. I mean, so they were really excited about it. But if you look at the normal homeowner, this is something that's very achievable or attainable for them. Like you can buy this kit and
buy this kit.
You and the
have
kids
it
can throw it up over the course of a weekend.
Exactly. It's like a
ready to
weekend
go.
project, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one thing we always want to tell people, though, be careful with our customers is kind of to give a little more detail. I think probably upwards of the 400 to 500 square foot, a pretty good do-it-yourselfer could probably put it up. But I think when you start getting into that 800 or 1200 square foot or bigger, you might want to have a GC kind of assist you a little bit with that, I imagine. Yeah.
I'd agree. And especially, I mean, it depends on your amenities too. Chances are it's like, is it going to be occupied? Well, then you're going to need electrical. You're going to need plumbing. You're going to need HVAC.
Exactly.
And can you do that on your own? Yes.
Yeah.
Are most people qualified? And would it save you a lot of heartache to bring in a general contractor and help you do that? Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. We don't want anybody electrocuting themselves, wiring up their little tiny home.
Yeah. So it's put a damper onto
right.
the project. So
yeah, no, we actually one of our close friends who's on the True Haven team, on our marketing team, he was out there as well, and I think what happened was he got so excited, and he was just out there with us, and he was so excited about the product that he wanted one to do over the weekend with his son. In fact, they wanted to come, like, they really wanted it broken down. They just wanted the pieces.
That's right.
And he wanted to do that with his son over the weekend. I think they had a great time with that. But yeah, it's very functional, right? So walking through the product a little bit here, so people, because a lot of people are like, well, what do I get? And so this is a very key question. Like, what do I get? What do I need to do with it? And what further things do I need to do with it? So obviously, we provide the steel frame. True Haven is going to provide the steel frame structure of the home.
Yep.
With the OSB already attached to the walls, correct?
Correct. Yep. And again, that's, we can be and will be and are, as flexible as we need to be when it comes to any of those requirements. So, I mean, and that's largely design based or, architecture based. So if it needs to be, typically we just do an OSB. Great. Huber Wood Products makes is like the zip board that has a laminated, ice and, or vapor barrier on it.
For sure.
And we install that, factory install that as well. We can do like a Dens glass, like a gypsum type of board, if that's what your exterior, your wall assembly calls for. We can accommodate all of it. So your wall panels will show up to site where your exterior sheathing or clad is already on there. So wall panels show up, trusses go on top. You put your decking on the roof. Like, obviously, we can't put decking on the roof.
Because you have to set the trusses.
You got to set trusses, but from a wall system perspective, you stand all those walls up in an hour or two.
Right.
For all intents and purposes, your building's dried in. You throw in a couple of windows and a door, you're ready to go. You can be inside of the thing in a day, which is
Yeah,
pretty neat.
I mean, you can basically look at it from the perspective, like, let's say I wanted to build a 400 square foot ADU. I could be like, okay, guys, Jonathan and Reagan, can you deliver it to me on Friday, let's say, and they literally could have it completely erected. So their GC
Hmm.
or their contractor on Monday could come in then and do the drywall, the insulation, the plumbing,
Yep.
and whatnot. On that note, really quick, we see a lot of modular companies out there. So this is
Yep.
an interesting, we all see them on Instagram. We see the like, hey, here's a home fully kitted out for $10,000, and like it's coming from overseas or something. But I noticed that many modular companies and many other builders, they try to get the whole kit and caboodle on the wall frame, and I noticed, as the engineer, we noticed that a lot of things go wrong with that.
Hmm.
So let's say, for example, well, because we get these questions too, do you put the windows in there?
Hmm.
And what we've noticed is in transport, the windows break.
Yep.
Right. So, but what we can do is we can include the windows on the truck,
Yep.
so that then you just you put the walls up,
Hmm.
and then you can insert the windows. They're right there with you, and whatnot. So I kind of discourage the fact of trying to get everything in there, because it doesn't take that long to then put the window in anyway.
No, and it's always that what if, right?
Right.
And it's it's much easier for us to send a replacement window.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, especially if you finish your build and you've got finished exterior cladding or like all the siding on the window, and the window's broken, you have to do it. It's much more
Right.
cumbersome
It
to
is.
have to disassemble the whole
Disassemble
wall
everything,
assembly.
pull it out, put it back in.
Yeah, but again, like you said, we'll give you that package, or the package will show up on your door where you have your wall panels, you have your openings, windows.
Even the
and stuff.
cladding, we'll give them the cladding and whatnot. I think you guys are even exploring putting insulation in the walls, though,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, I mean, our whole philosophy, and same thing with this relationship, is we'll take prefabrication as far as it makes sense
Yep.
for any given project. And that's
Yep.
great because you have the perspective and you have the client relationship where you can work
Yep.
with them and sort of
See what they want, what they need.
see how far
Exactly.
how they
Yeah,
want to go.
that's what
And
we'll do.
like I said, if it's going to be a situation where we're going to have a lot of plumbing, or there's going to be air vents or electrical that needs to go through it, might make less sense for us to pack the walls full of insulation if they're going to be routing stuff
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
walls.
Yeah.
But if it's like, hey, here's a structure that's going to stand up, they're going to throw their favorite 65 Mustang, their prized car in there, and it's just
Exactly.
going to be insulated, and
Yeah.
that's all they need. Great. Then we'll absolutely
Just do it. And
you pack those walls full so they stand
Yeah.
it up and they're ready to go when it gets on
For
site.
sure.
So
what I love about the system too, the True Haven system, is that we eliminate some trades on site too, and that zip board you were talking about.
Yeah.
So like we're dialing it back for a minute. So the client will get a pre-framed steel wall. So basically it's a wall panel, have all the studs in it.
Mhm.
It'll have the top and bottom part of the wall,
Yep.
and as well as OSB. I'm kind of simplifying it. There's actually technical terms. Like, it's not that I don't know the terms. I'm just trying to, but the zip system is as a green board, we call it.
Mhm.
There's no need to tie back the house.
Right.
A lot of people love that, because then you literally can erect the walls up, tilt them up, put them together,
Mhm.
and then put your cladding. You can put your hardy plank right on it.
Yep.
Or go straight to stucco. You eliminate two trades. You eliminate having to put the OSB on,
Mhm.
and you eliminate having the plastic wrap a house.
Yep.
So it's I really love that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So whether you're self-performing it, and if you're doing it yourself, or if you have someone else coming into it, another trader, an exterior guy,
Yeah.
once it's stood up, you're ready to go. So there's
you
no
go.
other delays or waiting for this guy to do that, or this,
Yeah.
and it saves you an extra step. Like you said, there's no extra material that you've got to supply or cut or, leave around your backyard while you're building the thing. So, and we've seen that. I mean, that plays out well in the residential space, but if you want to think bigger or larger on the multifamily, or you're going to
Yeah.
these larger commercial builds,
That saves time.
same thing. I mean,
Big
that's
time.
paramount. And, for
Yeah.
those, from that perspective, if you're the general contractor or the developer, that's one less trade that you have to contract
100%.
or worry about,
Yeah.
on site.
True.
Typically you have your framer come in, and then you might even have a subset where you have just an exteriors guy that comes and puts your exterior sheathing on. And then there's the waterproofing guys that come after that. And
Right.
then there's the exterior.
And then you get, but then on top of that is your MEP.
Yes.
How many? I always wondered. Let's just see if you took just a 2-story, even a home,
Mhm.
because we do homes too,
Yep.
and not just ADUs, but we do. We're actually going to be doing a 2,500 square foot home in the Altadena area. You know, we got to get the plans over to you to look at that. But we just recently submitted to building department. But it's a single story, or I think it might be a 2-story home, but it's in the Altadena area. But so we do everything from you know, small to large. But what I was getting at with that is the MEP, or for everybody here, that's your mechanical, electrical, plumbing. And as I don't know if some people know this, but what your plumbing lines and electrical lines have to go through every stud in the wall. So what happens is you literally have a guy out there drilling a hole in every stud. I guess. I mean, I think about it even now. We still do it today.
Yeah.
And you almost think it's like archaic way of building, having just some guy drill holes in the studs. But that's what's great about the steel, right?
Yeah. I mean, and you're referencing like in the wood world. I mean, it is almost laughable. It's like,
Right.
it's understood that that's the way it is when the electrician comes in to rough in and start pulling wires, there's a guy with a giant
Just
drill bit going one stud at a time, you know, and that, I mean, takes us back to what we were discussing a few minutes ago with the design and sort of the effort that we put into that. Like, no, we'll pre-punch all those holes already.
Yep.
You know, and they can dictate where they want to be like, hey, I need a route that goes, you know, 2 foot up from the bottom of the wall.
Right. So we can pre-plan all that stuff for the folks.
So they get to site and all of them are there and it's a straight line all the way across. Or if, you know, even if you want to get real fancy and like, hey, I'm going to have a golf simulator here, or we're going to have a home theater here.
For sure.
And we need to have, you know, low voltage wiring, you know, crossing down at this angle or access this and that. You know, when we're modeling it, you know, we can trace that in and you'll have, you know, access hole. We call it a service hole, you know, that will already be integrated.
I'll be ready to run that line through it.
Yeah. So makes everybody happy. Again, it's one of those things where, you know, typically there may be pushback from folks that are not accustomed to it or haven't done it before.
Right.
You know, but once we show them, like, no, we put a lot of effort and a lot of thinking into this to make it easy for you when you get on site. You know, we can, you know, wipe away most of those concerns, and it just pays dividends the further along you go in the build process, because it's easier for them. Well, from the outset, your framing goes up quickly. Then all of your trades can rough in even faster, which means you can close up your walls and finish everything faster.
That's
so,
true.
you know, the quicker that you, from a general contractor's perspective, or even from a homeowner's perspective, the quicker you can get the thing buttoned up, you know, the more you're going to save.
Oh, yeah. Well, the whole concept that we want to give to our homeowners is a quicker solution. Like we talk about this all the time, actually, is that a homeowner doesn't have $300,000 sitting in a bank account. It's like, okay, I'm going to go build my ADU.
Yeah.
It's more like, okay, how much equity do I have in my home? I'm going to pull an equity line of credit out, and the first thing they have to start doing is making payments on it.
Yeah.
And so if they end up building a wood ADU, which could take a year, if we can take our system and build it in 6 months, then they can start getting revenue in there, or they can, you know, can start paying back the HELOC and not be hit so hard with that.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So, and that's, I mean, from a homeowner, like that rings true for a homeowner. You can get occupied and you can start making money back if you're choosing that route.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way if you're just parking your favorite car in it.
Right. I know, if you put that Mustang in there.
Yeah. But, you know, if you're going to have a tenant there, then you can start, you know, that's revenue coming in as soon as, you know, even quicker.
That's true.
And then as you scale that up, it really starts to compound in, you know, if you have a duplex or a triplex.
Oh yeah, what if you have a 3-story building?
Or even multifamily? It's huge.
It is,
because you know, from a developer's perspective, it's costing them hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, every month that building's not occupied.
Exactly.
And so not only can they get occupancy, you know, quicker, but I mean, there's other stuff that again, we can go further down the rabbit hole, but there's other savings with insurance.
Well, there's insurance, because it's a fireproof structure. That's one thing we really didn't touch much about today was the fact that the system is fireproof and like mold proof and termite proof, right? And what I love about the system here and our partnership is the fact that you don't have just one type of plywood you put on. You know, if somebody just wants regular plywood, that we can accommodate that, but you also have a fire rated OSB, and you know, it can even make it even more fireproof. We're actually going to be we're demonstrating this next Monday. You're going to be providing us a couple panels, and we're going to take a blowtorch to it. We're going to show everybody that it does not burn. So hopefully we don't burn down the forest. But
it's a 1 hour fire rating. We'll find out.
We're going to know if it'll last 1 hour. Yeah.
I mean, and that's a neat thing too. And again, just to kind of alleviate, any concerns that may or may not be there, all of this is documented. There it's the UL ratings or all of those
That's true.
assemblies,
ICC.
they're all documented.
Yeah.
It's all tried and proven. Like it's almost becoming. I mean, in California, especially in those burn areas, it's now a requirement where you have to have a non-combustible assembly.
That's true.
But you're also seeing it. There's big opportunities, or not even. I should say there's big adaptation in medical and senior living facilities, because they have very, very stringent fire rating requirements, both in their walls and in their ceilings.
That's true.
So, a light gauge,
critical structures.
Light gauge or, a metal framing, load bearing metal framing system is really the only way that you can make that work or make it pencil out.
True.
So,
yeah.
I mean, again,
we could go on and on about different uses.
Eat, live, and breathe this stuff. I really,
I know. I can tell you have a passion.
I think it's really, like I said, my wife teases me about it, but it's neat, and I certainly have a bias. I'll admit that.
Yeah.
I do. I think steel is the way to go. But the more I think about it, and the advances that we're making, and as requirements continue to get more stringent, it becomes clearer. And I think people are starting to recognize like this is the clear way
to go.
To go. It makes a lot of sense. And again, we can talk about a 500,000 square foot, big facility, and that's the way to go. It makes sense both in terms of cost and in timeline. A lot of savings to be had there, but also from, your mom and dad building an ADU in their backyard.
Yeah.
The savings or the benefits ring true there as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
it's interesting. Let's talk wood steel for a minute here.
Sure.
And we'll get a little technical. Let's geek out for a hot second.
Bring out the boxing gloves here.
Yeah, there we go. What I love about from an engineering's perspective for wood versus steel is when I've always engineered with wood, it's not a homogeneous product, meaning that the material in the wood is not the same throughout it. So whenever we design as engineers a beam, or we're trying to engineer the home, it technically gets over-engineered in wood.
Yep.
Because we have to take into account the uncertainties of the wood. So we call that like a utilization ratio. Let's get a little geek out on it, right?
Let's go nuts.
So the utilization ratio is basically what the beam can hold, capacity versus what you're putting on it weight-wise. And so that ratio, we'll design a beam around the 75% mark. And what that means there's always a 25% left not being used. You can almost call it waste. Whereas in steel is a very homogeneous product, right?
Right.
It's you can count on that material all day long to work the way you need it to.
Yep.
And so when I engineer with steel, I go up to like the 95% mark, the capacity versus what you put on it, because I'm very confident how the steels can perform.
Yeah.
And so now you're going from that 25% waste over engineering to maybe 5%. What's even cooler about that is wood construction, as you know, is like 16 on center with studs. Whereas in steel, we'll do 24-inch on studs in center on studs.
Yep.
So I say all this because at the bottom dollar end of the day, if somebody's trying to build an ADU in their backyard, cost is always a factor, right? Because nobody has unlimited funding, and so I say all that because if you take it into account into a certain perspective, if you look at it from a perspective of this, whereas one, I can space the wall studs further apart.
Yep.
Okay, I can use 95% of the engineering properties of the steel versus 75%, those two factors right there, you're going to cut your waste, use the material more efficiently, and the bottom dollar is you're going to save 20 or 30% in your construction costs.
Yep. Just
using steel.
Yep. And then, to couple that is where we're pre-manufacturing all of this stuff. We are manufacturing each one of those studs or those members to a predetermined dimension.
Exactly.
So if you're going to stick frame that out of wood, I mean, there's savings to be had because you're having to over-engineer it.
Yep.
Because of utilization. That was a really great explanation, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
So you're having to kind of overcompensate. Bring more material in, but then oftentimes if you're going to a Home Depot or any lumber supplier, you can only buy in a 2-foot increment, right? So
I think they do that on purpose, right?
Yeah, it's
they know that the walls are 8 feet tall.
It's like, did you ever see was it Father of the Bride with Steve Martin back in
Oh
the
yeah,
day.
it's a
I
great
want 6
movie.
hot dogs for 8 hot dogs,
Exactly.
But
The buns never match the hot dog.
yeah, so but with a stud, you can only buy an 8, 10, 12,
Right.
14, 16-foot stud. Well, what if my elevation, my wall height is 15 foot 5 inches?
Exactly.
All right, so then
Or every 9 foot wall, you have 1 foot of waste
you
of
buy
wood.
a 10-foot stud and you got to cut all of them, and then you throw a bunch
Yeah,
of 1-foot pieces
exactly.
away.
Yeah,
For us, if you have a 15-foot 5 or a 9-foot tall wall, we are manufacturing studs to 9 foot.
exactly.
So you have zero waste on site.
Yeah,
You
I
don't have
love
any
that.
sawdust. You don't have stuff strewn across the lawn or across
Right.
the job site.
It's eco-friendly and whatnot.
Yeah, and for us, I can't say that we're a zero waste facility, but with all of our equipment, we're only manufacturing to those specific dimensions.
Yep.
So we're not cutting or wasting a bunch
I
of
think
material.
you're on the order of what, 5? You told me this once. What, 5% waste on the steel as it's being cut?
Yeah, we figure at least. I mean, that's a nice where we've got a sister company that's
Yeah.
you got a long, long history of buying studs.
Exactly. Yeah.
We know what the industry standard is. Like, hey, if I'm going to bid this project,
Yeah.
if it's a 9-foot wall, I have to assume that I'm bumping up to a 10-foot
Yeah.
stud.
Buying 10-foot sticks. Yeah.
Yeah, and we know, just assume that we're going to lose 5 to 10% in extra material costs. That's
Yeah.
just wasted on the site. This, eliminates all of that. So we're really efficient on site. We're efficient in the factory.
Yeah.
Any other piece of metal that we cut in the factory, we catch, recoup, recycle.
Yeah.
So we can eliminate impacts there, but also, again, you get all the benefit on site as well, which is pretty
Yeah, it is great. I know that I think a study was actually done that they actually did a study and noted that I think it's about 20 to 30% waste of material in wood construction on site. Like the extra wood is just, you drive by and there's a big pile of wood just sitting there. Right?
So we've all seen it. I was going to say, you drive past and you see the dumpsters.
You see the dumpster full of wood.
You never see an empty dumpster on a job site. It's just,
right, exactly.
it's one of those things where I'm not getting frustrated by it, but it's the status quo, right? Like it's just the way it's been done, the way it is done.
Yeah.
And that's, exciting for us because we know, no, there is a better way.
There is. Yeah.
We'd love to introduce you to that and show you that. And again, you talk, like I mentioned it before, but I was thinking about it, and you're talking about the variability in wood. It's also, you better hope that those things are straight.
Oh, I know.
And
I mean,
they stay straight,
we've built our own home before, and as soon as it's finished, I'll go outside and you'll be watering the lawn or something. You look at your wall and you're like,
Let's see,
that is not a straight wall.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the heck? I mean, I paid $800,000 for this home and it's crooked.
Yeah. I mean,
know.
we worked with a gentleman last year where we built him, it was a beautiful, 7,000 square foot home down in southern Utah. So he's out in the Red Rocks, and it's gorgeous, and it's the Spanish casita type of style.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things where, I mean, the guy drives, desert trucks professionally. He's made his money, and his hobby is racing desert trucks.
That is a cool sport.
If you can imagine, he's kind of a rough and tumble type of, tell you how it is type of fella.
Right. A John Wayne kind.
Yeah. And, that was one of the things that he kept raving about, which is like, all these freaking walls, again, it's a little more colorful than that. He's like, all these freaking walls are straight.
Right.
Which is great because, I mean, he has a contracting background. That's how he.
Okay. So he really notices.
Yeah.
those
So
things.
he has an acute knowledge of what should be expected and what's right. And that was his big thing. All of his walls are straight. So that meant all of the millwork or the cabinetry and, doing the baseboard and stuff like that.
And drywall.
And you better believe that, he had very nice finishes on the inside of his home. But, he was raving because all of the corners were 90-degree corners. All of his walls were plumb and straight. So all the cabinets, all of the, housing around the doors, everything like that he put into this house, fit just the way it's supposed to. Which, I mean, if you're working with wood, you can overcome that. And if you got a real quality framing crew, they can keep an eye out for it. But, if you're working with guys that are moving fast and loose and just trying to, get the thing
You're not going to get that quality.
up and moving on, you're going to have to account for some of that and put shims on the walls or, do this and that. With steel, you can count on it being in the right profile, being straight, every time. So
that's what's, bringing that point up. That's what's so great about this product. True Haven really wanted to make it to where the amount of skilled labor needed is very minimal.
Yeah.
As we're going year after year, we're noticing that folks, aren't really going into the construction trades as much, right? So, kids don't want to be a framer. They want to go be a TikTok influencer, right? Or no, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just it's not the way it used to be, where people want to go be a framer and a concrete guy and an asphalt guy. So year after year, it's like we're losing more and more trades that are available to build a home for us. So the fact that this product, requires, very little skilled labor, that's the concept too.
Yeah, you can bridge that gap.
Bridge that gap.
Because we've personally met some of these homeowners,
Right.
and I can think of one of the gentlemen that we worked with. He sold Porsches for a living, and again, is more of an office based career path.
Exactly.
And we were working in his backyard, and he was thrilled because he was there helping us.
Oh,
push
he had his
panels up.
hands on all
He
over
was
that
putting
thing.
windows in. It was one of those things where the system is simple enough, such that anyone can jump off the couch or out of their office, and they can start putting this thing together.
And have that sense of accomplishment that they did something, right?
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it has kind of a negative connotation, and it's not intended to be, but we try to make it as mindless as possible.
Right. It's as easy to just follow directions and put it together.
Like you said, hey, here's panel one, I look, and panel one goes here, and then panel 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we're done. It's without a lot of embellishment, it can be, or it is just that easy.
It is.
I mean, it just goes together, and you're ready to move on. So,
and it, and the other thing about this product too is we don't always have to have concrete slabs. We've actually done quite a few of these where, it's on a raised foundation, because a lot of people are like, hey, I'm on a hillside. Can I still do this?
Yeah,
absolutely. We have different foundation type alternatives, where we actually then make a floor, a cold form steel floor. It doesn't have to be on a.
We're working on a project right now. We've built one of them. We've got 2 more going out the door, but we're working with a school district in Idaho.
That's right. The AEA. Yeah.
Yep.
That's right.
So we've got these projects going on where the whole reason we got into that is they're building these sheds or these additional units at these schools up in northern Idaho, which are not in very friendly conditions.
Right.
But they would build a wood structure, and the life cycle or lifetime for that would be about 2, maybe 3 school years.
Yeah, it's not very long with that harsh winter environment. Yeah,
they're done. So that's where we came in with a product. We're like, hey, we're not gonna have wood rot. You're not gonna have to worry about termites. It's not gonna burn down.
Right.
Here's what we can do with a cold form or steel solution for you.
Yep.
But then, given where they're at, they have to be, it's called a pier, so rather than having a flat slab, they drill down and they put posts in the ground and bring it off the floor.
We call them helical piles.
Yeah, helical pier. Yeah, piles.
No, it's cool.
But yeah, so they're just, sitting right on top of that.
Exactly, yeah.
We can accommodate, any need,
Yeah.
So we're doing we've looked at stuff like that up in Alaska too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have some projects going on down in the Georgia, and especially in clay areas.
Yep.
People don't want to do the concrete because you have this heaving component coming up and cracks the concrete. So that's a good solution. I want to back up a little bit too. With True Haven, I don't know if you noticed this, but when you look at the other competitors online and you see the different products, or you see the different ADU or I don't want to say modular. We're not modular. We're prefabricated steel frame, but same concept, same space, right? Everybody has a shoebox. Have you noticed that? Yeah. It's a shoebox with a slant roof. I mean, I don't know. I like variety. I think people like variety. So in True Haven, the system, what I love about the machines that you have and are what designs and engineering we do, we can pretty much make anything.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I think it's something that I'm pretty bullish on.
Yeah.
And again, I'm passionate about metal stud framing, real cool stuff. But I think you don't need to. It shouldn't be a worry that just because we're working on metal that you have to limit yourself on what type of architectural details or styles that you want to work with.
Right.
We've worked on stuff together that you're looking at one for us right now. It's about as dynamic as a shape or architectural style as you're ever going to see.
Right.
And we can absolutely accommodate and make that work, which is really neat. And radius is a little bit more difficult, but we can make radius work. We can really be just as accommodating as a typical lumber framer was.
Yeah, I can see that.
Be, you know what I mean? So
yeah, we do Spanish style. We've done Mediterranean style. We've done farmhouse style,
Craftsman, all of
Oh, a whole bunch. Even so that's why even the model, if you go to the mytruehaven.com, that's our website, obviously, so everybody knows here. It's mytruehaven.com. We have some models on there. We try to It's not going to be your same model that you see all the competitors do. We did that on purpose, actually.
Yeah.
So when people go onto our website and they're like, well, this is odd. They've got all these weird different houses. Well, we did that on purpose to kind of give a flavor to our potential customers and clients that you don't have to do shoebox.
Yep.
You can do a farmhouse. You can do, a modern style. So we're very open with all that. Yeah.
And we were talking about like the barn dominium type of thing.
Yeah, barndominiums. Yeah, that's a big craze now.
We've
Yeah.
got that figured out. I think it's one of those anecdotally, because I don't want to create sort of a negative space. But you'll see online or something I've noticed. I catch it on my Instagram feed as well. But
Yeah.
you see a lot of really neat renderings.
Oh yeah.
From these companies. The picture looks great, and whoever's working their Photoshop is doing a wonderful job at publishing this.
Yeah.
The nice thing with True Haven though is like that everything that you see that's available,
It can actually be built.
yes,
Right.
there's an engineer behind it.
Right.
That's saying that this is possible, and we've got framing plans to back it up. So
Yeah, because just because somebody might see a rendering that's cool, the unfortunate part is there's a lot of folks that will make a rendering to make it look cool, and then there's been no engineering behind it. It's not even been looked at by an engineer.
they'll sell it, then try to build it.
Yeah, sell and build it. You try to, and so many problems go wrong with that.
Yeah.
All right, so we've talked a lot today. We've unpacked a lot of things. We're going to unpack even more tomorrow as we walk through your factory.
Yep.
But I always want to leave our potential clients or customers a nugget. So we'll call it like a little nugget of information that somebody's thinking about, or they have a need. They have a kid coming home from college that they need a place, or elderly parents, and they're trying to figure out what or they can build. What piece of advice? What can we tell people to kind of keep in mind?
Yeah, I'd say, especially when talking about, True Haven and a steel framing, it's much more accessible than you might have ever dreamed or,
Yeah.
Positioned it to be in your mind. Like, yes, maybe I have this idea. It'd be great to have something in the backyard. So, son or daughter can be a little bit closer, or we can give them a helping hand. College isn't cheap.
Right.
They're going to be working. Stuff keeps more expensive. How
That's
can we
true.
give them a hands up?
Yeah.
I'd love to do it, but I don't even know where to start. What does it look like? What can
Yeah.
it be?
Right.
Just keep in mind, like, it's much more accessible.
It's not as big of a daunting feat as they might think.
Again, like, it's one of those things where working within this ecosystem, there's a helping hand there. We're like, hey, you're not sure what you want. Well, hey, here's several options for you to look at.
Right.
Then on top of that, we can take a look and see at what city you're in, and we're going to tell you which of them actually really is possible, or what we can do.
Yeah.
Or if budget is a concern, like you mentioned the shoebox. Shoebox is pretty simple, but super shoebox is pretty cost effective.
It is. It 100% is.
So it's one of those things where I've talked to it, like, me personally, like, I wouldn't be in this or be selling it if it doesn't work.
Right.
My old man, my dad, he's not. He's he's in his mid 60s. He's not the fittest dude around.
Neither are we. So.
Yeah, but so he actually he's semi-retired and he bought himself a bunch of property up in Maine.
Okay, yeah.
And he had this lot that he loved, and it was beautiful, and he wanted to put something up there. But talking to him, I'm a nation away. It's hard to get further away from Maine than Utah.
Yeah, it's pretty far. Yeah, I know.
Are you in California? It's literally
Across
coast
country.
to coast.
Yeah.
And he was talking to me, just like, yeah, man, I'd love to do it. It was great because I had the perspective, and I'm also just the optimistic son. Like, let's go, like, let's go crazy. And sure enough, we were able to design him. He's not building the mansion. He just wanted the spot that overlooks the coast. Designed him like a 1,300 square foot little house, and got everything they need. He wanted to make sure he was warm, so we got the R values or the insulation values figured out for him.
For sure.
Did all the design, did all the pre-work for him. Came in well under what he thought that number was going to be, including shipping it across country.
Oh, well. Yeah, I know your shipping prices are pretty competitive. They're great.
We try to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just depends on how big the house you want to build. But, we got it there for him. I flew out. Again, this is one of those, like, hey, let's put it to the test. Can you do it at home?
Yeah.
Or, build a home without a lot of experience? It was me. Granted, again, I know how it goes together, but I had my 65-year-old dad that doesn't exercise a whole bunch, and my older brother my older brother came out and he's never worked in the trades a day in his life.
And he just started doing it. Huh?
And between the three of us, we 2 days later, I mean, it was a long weekend,
Yep.
but 2 days later, he had his house framed, and then, other folks
That's
started
great.
coming in. So, what started out as a very daunting task
Like overwhelming.
or overwhelming thought, like, nope, like, we can make it as easy as we need to make it for you, and you can have that. So, as a long nugget, but I think that's one of those things, like the barrier to entry or getting started on something like this is much closer than you would maybe think or give yourself credit for.
Yeah, and we'll go ahead and end that. And I want to say thank you everybody for joining us on True Haven podcast. I think the takeaway I really want to do, we unpacked a lot here, and we sort of geeked out and did some technical. So I'm sure some people might be like, "Oh my gosh, am I more confused? I don't know where to start." But believe me, that's what True Haven is. We're here for you to hold your hand and get you where you need to go or what you want to build. And it all starts, honestly, with just going to mytruehaven.com and let's just have a conversation. So if you go to mytruehaven.com, there's actually a red button there, or I don't know what the color is now, but it's to schedule a one-on-one consultation. And so go to mytruehaven.com, schedule a consultation. Let's have a conversation. And that's really where it starts. And believe it or not, just as easy as a conversation is between you and I, will be the same conversation between True Haven and you folks out there as well. So I would love to talk to you. I would love to see how we can make your dreams come true. As always, like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you here real soon.